Hello and welcome to another Ben Talks 2 on All for United. This is a show where I chat to journalists, ex-players and avid Manchester United football fans for about 40 minutes to an hour on all things to do with our football club. So make sure you hit the like button, subscribe to the channel and get involved in the comments, because today we've got another big show for you. Joining me through the means of virtual technology, shall we say here, Graeme. We've had technical issues hinder us a few weeks ago when we tried to record this the first time around. But Graeme Bailey, who's a bit of a football insider, he's a journalist. He also works on programmes for SiriusXM as well over in the States. Graeme, thank you for joining me. How are you doing?
Not a problem at all, Ben. Yeah, no, I'm doing good. Doing good. Looking forward to it.
And how's the football world treating you at the moment? Because obviously you're working on shows, being a journalist, it's a very weird time for football at the moment, isn't it?
It is, yeah. Obviously, my main bag of football is working on the Sunday tabloids and work with team90min.com and Team Talk. They're my main portals. So yeah, it's interesting. My own personal world, being a Middlesbrough fan, we're going quite well. They won it. So yeah, from a personal point of view, I'm wanting us to get back up till we get back to Old Trafford. I thought it was very interesting. There was a very interesting graphic on Sky the other day about the teams who've taken the most points from Old Trafford, and we were in there at number 6, even though we hadn't played there in some time, because we always used to have some. We had some good games recently at Old Trafford, so yeah, it was always a happy visit for us.
I have been up to Middlesbrough quite a few times to watch games because I've got family in Sunderland. So I've been to see a few Sunderland games, been to see a few Newcastle games, and always went to see a couple of Borough games because obviously whilst I was up there, I used to make the most of the Championship cheap tickets. So I used to come out.
Well, you won the title at the Riverside as well, which is one of the few times I have cheered an opposition goal when Giggs scored at the Riverside, because obviously you did stop Kevin Keegan winning it, which was a great day for me as a Middlesbrough fan.
Oh, memories. Lovely memories, Graeme. Lovely memories. And talking of memories, actually, to Graeme's credit, may I just say, so SiriusXM, one of the channels you work for, Graeme, put out a bit of a quote that you said on a podcast, and as ever, it was met with a massive reaction from Manchester United fans. Just quickly, before I'm going to read it out, but obviously there needs to be some context to it. The reason why I'm saying this is because it's credit to Graeme. I reached out to him and said, Graeme, look, you said this. I want us to dig into it. I want us to chat about it. Would you be okay coming on the United fan channel and doing that? And straight away you said, yes, let's make it happen. And although we've had a few troubles and a few technical difficulties making this come about, you've always stuck to your word. So thank you for coming on. I really, really appreciate it. The fact that you're happy to put your face to the Reds and explain what you meant by your comment, and also dig a bit further deeper into it with me, I think is credit to you. So quickly though, before I read it out, how is it for someone like yourself in the footballing world when a snippet of something you said gets put out there, gets greeted with such a big reaction? How do you take that? How does that make you feel?
We're sort of used to it, especially on social media, Ben, because it happens quite a lot, believe it or not. Obviously, we're serious. The guys like to get a reaction, but it also happens a lot with the sub editors on stories we do. The headline will be very different to the story itself, and you'll get a lot of abuse from people who actually don't read the story or listen to the quotes in full. So no, it's something we're used to, and hey. And I'm always open for debate. I always say to people on Twitter and social media, as long as you don't swear at me, you can come at me as hard as you want. I don't mind. Just obviously my young children around, so they might read stuff. So yeah, just don't swear at me. And if you don't swear at me, you can come at me all you want.
Yeah, so respect works both ways.
Exactly. Yeah, there's no need to swear. It's football normally is all about opinion. I tend to do a lot of transfery stuff, but yeah, everyone's got an opinion. That's a great thing about the game, isn't it?
So on this quote that SiriusXM put out, I take it you was on a podcast or you was on a program?
No, I'm the football insider on their football show, which goes out nationwide across the whole country. I think it's 7 a.m. Eastern time. The football serious show goes out, which tends to be about 1 o'clock our time. So right. I've been doing that about 10 years now. So. I go on there once or twice a week, every week, and we debate on there. And it does fairly well because obviously the other side of Atlanta is a lot of United fans and Liverpool fans over there. They tend to do too, who react an awful lot.
And around the world as well, as we all found out when they put the tweet out. So SiriusXM tweeted with quotation marks, Ole Gunnar Solskjaer isn't good enough to be the manager of Manchester United. Paul Pogba knows it. Manchester United will never win the Premier League with Solskjaer as their manager. Graeme, this is something that you're quite open in, obviously admitting that you said, and you said it. Obviously, there's context to it. So let's take you back to obviously this show and when you was talking about Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, and let's dig a little bit deeper into what you said and get into the nitty-gritty of it. So Ole Gunnar Solskjaer isn't good enough to be the manager of Manchester United. Is that an opinion you formed of his previous managerial experience, or is that an opinion you formed over his time as being manager of Manchester United?
The latter. Definitely, you always give someone a chance, Ben, and he came in and did very well. What I would say in that quote is it was paraphrased slightly, because I didn't just say Pogba. I said within it, I said Marcus Rashford knows it as well. There's a few other players, so it wasn't just Pogba, although he does know it. In terms of Ole, yeah, I think he got the job and he was in the right place at the right time. Not a problem with that. But then he's led you to what was it the worst points haul in Premier League history for you last season? And something very close to it, if not.
I think it was going to be if we didn't do what we done.
You finished closer to the relegation places than you did the title winners. I think that's correct, isn't it, as well? And from just watching United, I think you look at a shadow of what See, I come from a point, Ben, that for me, Manchester United are the biggest club in England. They're the biggest club in the world in most regards. So for me, Manchester United finishing top 4 is not an achievement. Manchester United reaching the semi-final of any tournament is not an achievement. So when any Man United fan comes to me and says, "Oh, we finished top 4 and we did X, Y, and Z in the semi-finals," so what? So that's not good enough. You are Manchester United. First, second is nowhere. So that's where I'm coming at it from, you see. If a United fan, if there's United fans out there who are happy to finish third, way behind Liverpool and City, then great. Yeah, he probably is the man for you. But if you are a Man United fan who want to win the title, he clearly is not the man for you. And yeah, you've had some good results recently, but Manchester United shouldn't be losing at home to Crystal Palace. And that wasn't a lucky result. And you shouldn't be getting hammered at home at Tottenham. And I just think he's very, very fortunate that he's got the backing of Gary Neville and his friends. Because, as strange as it sounds, Gary Neville is a very influential figure at Manchester United. And if he was against Solskjaer, he wouldn't be in the job now. But Solskjaer is very lucky to have a friend like that who is backing him, who has a very big sway with the fans and people within the hierarchy as well.
I mean, you picked out on some of obviously the negative statistics first of all to do with Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, and obviously depending on which way you look at statistics, you can find one positive for one negative, so to speak.
Yeah, obviously, lies and statistics. I fully appreciate that, Ben. But I can't help. You can't help but seeing. You see what you see on the pitch, and for me, yeah, there are bits and pieces, but. And I've said this on Sirius and to other people as well. I think Solskjaer's only achievement to date is lowering expectation levels at Old Trafford.
But what about context, Graeme? What about in context? Because I think a lot of and look, I'm a passionate Red, and I'm with you on the point. Third isn't good enough. Fourth isn't good enough. Second isn't good enough. But that's because we're an ambitious club, known to win. However, you've got to. Also, as a human being, put context into a situation. And with Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, he came into the club and went on such a phenomenal run when we ditched Mourinho, and he done so well to drag the players back out of the dirt, which Mourinho sort of left them in. Which was great, although I think still the majority of Man United fans would say to you that even then, maybe the decision was made too early about appointing him as permanent boss at that point. However, you can't not say that he didn't maybe deserve a go. However, I would still question the whole phrase, "Oh, let's give anyone a go at managing Manchester United." That needs to be an educated, well thought out, constructed decision to give someone that job. And one big night in Paris, a few good results, a couple of players being happy. For me, that isn't painting a big picture.
Mm.
However, obviously, Solskjaer came in and they gave him this whole restructuring job, this whole rebuilding job. And I think every United fan isn't expecting Ole Gunnar Solskjaer to go and win Champions Leagues and Premier Leagues back to back for Manchester United, but they expect Ole to leave us in a better position than when he started with us, which I think is a long process, and it's working its way to being a positive process at this moment in time. Anyway, back to context. What I was going to say is the start of his first full season, we had 4 or 5 games on the bounce where we looked brilliant, and then we were sunk with injuries. I think people forget how horrendously United were hit with injuries between October and January. And during that point, the only player who really stood out for United at that stage were his new signings, of which were Dan James, who was playing all right up to that point, who now we're sort of seeing, well, look, you know, he was never a world beater, but he was thrown into the United team. He was getting games and he was looking good, better than the pile of rubbish that was around him. You had Marcus Rashford, who was in all right form, but he wasn't still setting the world alight. He was carrying the team, and well, was carrying the team so harshly on his back that he ended up nearly breaking it. You had Harry Maguire, Wan-Bissaka playing well, and we had missed out on Bruno, who Oli really wanted, and we had no creative flair. Yet still, he was able to put together teams and performances to win games and keep us in with a chance of getting that all precious now Champions League place. So where I agree with you in terms of the aspect that United went on, he was lucky to stay in a job, and there's a lot of people.
Let's get right as well. Bruno Fernandes was a United target a long time before Solskjaer was in the job. So when you say he was a Oli target, Oli was just told to do him.
But we were close to getting him in the summer, weren't we? We just didn't put the money up.
Do you not question a huge question mark, which I know that the squad have never really recovered from, and I still don't think they have to this day, was Ole Gunnar Solskjaer's determination to get Romelu Lukaku out of the club. And I know that really hurt Marcus Rashford, and still does to this day, as we've seen him tweeting and being posted on social media. He still does not think that was the correct decision. And I fully vindicate that. And then he didn't
want to play for Man United, did he, Lukaku? He lost faith in playing for the football club. He didn't want to play for the club anymore. If you look through
Solskjaer who drove him out the squad, drove him out the club almost single-handedly. Solskjaer refused to play him.
Here's a question for you, Graeme. Sorry, I'm just playing devil advocate here. Just play devil advocate, right? Romelu Lukaku is a player under Sir Alex Ferguson, right? He goes into that managerial office and goes to Sir Alex. I don't really want to play here anymore. I know that Inter Milan are interested in me. I love, Conte. Obviously, with different times, but still, just manager to manager, man to man. He says that to Sir Alex Ferguson. Does he stay at Manchester United? I don't think he does. Fergie goes, you're out the door. And Ollie, I think, treated him exactly the same.
That's not how it panned out. What came first, the chicken or the egg? Was it the fact that Solskjaer refused to use him and dropped him, and then he asked to leave? I think you'll find it was the former.
But wasn't it Mourinho who dropped him first, Graeme? Mourinho wasn't playing him.
Didn't use, but then and
then there was fitness issues, and then there was, I do agree with you. Then Solskjaer left him out the side.
But I know, and the only reason I keep harking on to Lukaku, Ben, is because that is something that the hierarchy are very concerned about, and it's strange that everyone picks on. But it's one thing about Lukaku. Look what money you've spent since then. I know there is people within the corridors of power who've done the homework on this. And it is a real negative against Oli that what you've done with Odion Ighalo, Cavani, and then what you saw, they've done their sums, and you've lost a lot of money on this overall deal for these three. And that's when they are considering his future, etc., and going through that is a real negative there. And it's just one to consider, because it really does hark back. And the one thing about Lukaku, it had a real detrimental effect on the squad. Rashford, etc. You have to keep Marcus Rashford happy, and that really did the opposite. It really impacted on him, and still to this day, he, as we've seen via social media from Marcus Rashford, he still doesn't agree with that decision.
Mm-hmm. I mean, I get your point.
And Marcus Rashford under Ferguson, would he have sent that out on social media? Coming back at you, Ben, he wouldn't have sent that message, would he?
Did you see Mourinho's picture the other day after the Spurs team won and everyone was in the dressing room with a phone? I remember a couple of quotes from old players saying that actually Fergie didn't allow phones in the dressing rooms. Like you literally were not allowed to have a phone from the minute you travelled to the ground and then back to the hotel again. So
and the thing I would say, Ben, is that I like Ollie as a person. Don't get me wrong; he was great for the club. He did great, but I just think his managerial record, when you put it up there, is just poor. And I just think Manchester United. And as I said, one of the quote I'll come back to, he hasn't lost the dressing room, but the dressing room know he isn't good enough. They don't believe in him. And a lot of these, if you look at United, and I've looked at some of these United games where it's almost the games where you need Ollie to pick them up, they're the ones that are struggling. And it's the games where possibly Rashford is inspiring them. Because that squad is talented. Don't get me wrong, that squad's talented enough to. Me or you could probably almost get it in top four. It's a very, very talented squad. It's not a bunch of no hopers. And I think for me, that's why I think there's this within up top at Old Trafford. I think they are looking at it and thinking, do you know what, we're not a million miles away from title contenders. And I don't think you are. I don't think that far away. So if we got someone, whoever, like a Nagelsmann or a Pochettino, could they do better with what they've got here? And I think that's the question. Not that Ollie's doing a bad job, but could someone else do better? And I think that's the question they're looking at.
I mean, we said it. I mean, I was talking to a friend the other day, and we were chatting about Ancelotti. I mean, as him as a manager, like if you want to bring someone in after Mourinho, who just to get the best out of your players, then those type of people are the men. But then you get stuck in that hole again that we got stuck in with Van Gaal and Mourinho, and although we keep going on about the board,
that's the thing. That's the thing, Ben. With Everton, they're getting the best out of Ancelotti because they've given him control of the transfers. He's a proper manager.
That's what I was just.
And that's the thing. That's with this modern day thing. And I think people get hooked up on sporting directors because look at Arsenal. Arsenal was a car crash. They went over the top. Now they've got Edu and Arteta working well together. Because I think if you spoke to Matt Judge and Ed Woodward, and what they would argue is saying they have provided the ammunition here. They went and got. Let's forget about the transfer sagas that ensued with Maguire and Fernandes. At the end of the day, they delivered both those players. You know, and that's and to most fans, that's all they care about. They don't really care about the nitty gritty and 10 million here, 10 million there. They would argue they went and got the players. They went and got Wan-Bissaka, and I think the Sancho saga was just that, and it was horrible. But have United improved under Solskjaer because of him or because of Ed Woodward? That's a question I would ask, and I'm not sure that many could argue for Ollie in that regard.
I do think it's interesting, and again, it brings back that conversation that people keep having about does Ollie have tactics, and I want to get onto that in a second. But first of all, just going back again, just bringing it back to context. You say obviously the players on maybe don't believe in Ollie, or potentially Ollie, can't get the best out of his players. But I suppose the natural argument is after the coronavirus pandemic. Oh, Graeme, we slightly lost you then. Hopefully you're going to come back in. After the coronavirus pandemic. And have you got me again? Sorry, you just missed out then. After the coronavirus pandemic, and we managed to put together an incredible run of games, playing fantastic football. And I think that all gave us a glimpse as to what could be achieved with this group of players with Ole Gunnar Solskjaer and adding some more quality to that first team squad. And look, I actually think I see what you're saying about Palace and Spurs and even the Brighton game, but for me, like the pre-season just wasn't there for United at all this year, and for those other clubs.
Whose pre-season was that?
Palace. So Palace had a much better pre-season than United.
Are you really putting Man United's defeat to Palace down to pre-season?
Graeme,
come on.
A week before that game, United had four first-team players back in pre-season training, and you can go and find that anywhere.
Should be able to beat Crystal Palace, Ben.
No, I don't believe that anymore. I think that's maybe an old argument. I don't think that is the case.
Crystal Palace team is not very good.
The Palace team is better than the under-23 sides that the United sides are playing. I don't believe that United reserves are actually all that anymore. I think actually if you go through United's under-23 squad, if we're going to talk about reserves, there's maybe 3 or 4 standout players compared to the rest. And I think actually the more promising players for United are actually at the moment coming through the under-16s and under-18s. I don't think reserve team football is what it used to be.
Yeah,
anyway,
that was just a point. But
anyway, I just want quickly.
Yeah.
I think United have, since that defeat, since Brighton, and don't get me wrong, Spurs was absolutely awful in so many different places, and you can put part of that down to Ollie and how he set out for that game. You can put, we were getting completely outplayed before the red card. That had absolutely nothing to do with it. We just got beaten by a much better team, and we didn't look anywhere near as sharp to them as a man, or like we wanted it as much as them. But since then, we've looked a much better team. We've put in performances against the likes of PSG and Leipzig, which are to Ollie's credit. Those we can't not credit Ollie for those games.
No, you have to. But I would say, but look at the squad he's got, Ben. That's the minimal you should be getting. And as I said, I think all the United fans, and it reminds me of when Gareth Southgate took over at Middlesbrough. Actually, the only thing he's achieved is to lower your expectation levels, and he's done it hugely successfully. And now, the amount of United fans, honestly, who all they want now is top 4, and that's just.
I don't think that's true. I don't think that's true, Graeme. I don't think any United fans.
Hand on heart, I don't think. Hand on heart, as a United fan, do you think you can challenge for the title this year?
No, but also I slightly disagree with you that I still don't think we've got the squad to. I don't think this squad is anywhere near challenging for the title yet. I really don't think it is. I think United... I don't think it is at all. I think if you have a look at United's squad and look at where we're at, we're potentially a world-class defender away. We're potentially still a left-back away. I'm not convinced by Tellez, and I'm also not convinced by Shaw. I also think then if you look at the depth in all of those 3 positions, right-back, left-back and centre-back, it's not there. I also think potentially if you have a look at our midfield, we've got a Paul Pogba, but like we'll come on to in a minute, how much does Paul Pogba want to play for Manchester United? Because there is no point in having a world-class player playing for you who turns it on 3 times out of 10 or isn't passionate about being at the club and wants to move on. And then you've got players like Scott McTominay, who's still really young. You've got Fred, who question marks are still there about. Again, he was an investment under the Woodward and Mourinho era, but still question marks. Then you've got Bruno Fernandes, who could get into any side in world football, I believe. I think he's fantastic. And then you look at our front line and you're still thinking, well, do we have an out-and-out striker? Do we have an out-and-out right winger? Do we have an out-and-out left winger? Rashford, how good can he be? There's still so many maybes about United players. So I still don't think that United have this season improved on... They've improved on their squad. They haven't necessarily improved on the first team. And I think when you look at other squads and other teams and what they've done, they've improved their first team and added quality to it. And I think that's where I would have been happier if United had just signed Sancho.
Because and that was tight. But my argument with Ben, and we obviously were talking about Ollie, since Ollie took over, which players has he improved? He's got hold of Harry. Now Harry Maguire's taking a lot of stick, and he's not going through good form. But I always have this argument where Solskjaer's system is showing up Harry Maguire. Why would you do that? Harry Maguire, let's compare him to compare him to John Terry. Similar types of players in terms of pace, very similar. Neither of them were blessed with pace, but they got around that. But for me, why is he setting up his defence, especially have such a highlight? Build your defence, not the team. Build your defence around Maguire, and that's just naivety on Ollie's behalf. Obviously, he's not doing it on purpose. He's not doing it to show you up. Of course, he isn't. But that is a worry if I was there. But I just don't think, for me, for what message I'm getting, that from what I'm hearing, from what I'm feeling, I just don't think the players believe in him. And I think that's my main issue, where I am coming slightly from a biased point of view. Inside, I'm hearing the odd player here and there. I just don't think they believe in him, Ben. I really don't.
I think at times last year we might have seen a bit of an improvement in Martial, but did we see an improvement in Martial, or was it the fact that he's actually being played in a position where he can be more effective? That I think that's again question mark. So I'm not disagreeing with what you're saying. I think if he's done one thing, and one thing we can maybe compliment him on, although you're saying there's some talks behind the scenes, from a fan's perspective, this squad seems a little bit more together than past squads have done. And the
You think,
players,
in spite of what happened with Bruno Fernandes and the Rashford tweets and the Pogba stuff, I don't see that.
what did Bruno Fernandes do exactly? Because
Well, he
this has
did
been my
criticise.
question.
Oh, of course he did. We know he criticised. When Bruno had to come out and say, we know he did. He did. He did. But then again, that's not
But he
about.
didn't, did he?
Hey, yes, he did.
But Graham, where did he? He said, "I didn't say those things. It's absolute nonsense," is what he came out and said. Yeah, apparently he did. Like, you know what I mean? It's not like he done.
Yeah, because
Pogba actually came out and went, "Yeah, I'd love to play for Madrid
yeah, but
one
that's
day."
just but that's to say. So therefore, unless something is caught on, anyone can. If as long as something isn't caught on camera or isn't recorded, then they can come out and deny it. That obviously.
Oh,
but,
of course, I'm not disagreeing with that, Graham. But then also,
let's not beat around the bush. We know that happened, and then the fact that Ollie appoints him captain without him knowing, and it's just ridiculous. It's just. I just think he is so far, and yeah, we can't compare everyone to Sir Alex. You know, we can't do that, but he's just so far away from Sir Alex. It's unreal. And it's just, I find it amusing that so many United fans, for me, are getting are accepting of it. You know, that's what I find so strange. You're accepting of it, and for me, all I'd say to United fans is look at Tottenham and Arsenal. Careful what you wish for, because if there's two roads in the Premiership, if there's one road over there with City and Liverpool, with De Bruyne and Mane waving at you, if there's one road there with Arsenal and Tottenham waving at you, I know which road you're heading down. And it's not the Man City and Liverpool road, and that's what would be that's the worry, you see. And that's where I come from. But I'm a English football for me needs Manchester United to be up there and back where they are. But you just going through them. It feels a bit like you're going through the motions at the minute, where you're competing, you're there, you go on these little runs and stuff. And I guess I'm just a bit old fashioned, Ben. I like my Manchester United to be great. I don't like them to be tepid.
Are we going through the motions now, Graham, or is this a result of going through the motions with Van Gaal and Mourinho?
Yeah, don't get me wrong. Yeah, and I don't blame Ollie for taking the job. Again, coming back to my Middlesbrough thing, when we appointed Jonathan Woodgate and it went wrong, you can't blame anyone for taking a job at the club they love. Of course you can't. But I just think United needed to act, and I just think there's this sword of Damocles hanging there with Pochettino's name etched on the edge of it, ready to come in. I think that's always going to be the intriguing thing. And for me, I just think when you got someone like Pochettino, what he did at Tottenham, what he did with those players, let's not forget, he turned Harry Kane into a world-class player. He turned Christian Eriksen into almost a world-class player. Look what he did with Dele Alli. Look what he did with Son. And I just think it's so tempting. I'd love Pochettino to get hold of Marcus Rashford. I think he turned him into a world-class striker. I do. And I just don't think that's going to happen under Ollie.
For you, you're looking at these roads then. Let's just hit on this. You know, I mean, I've got to admit, Graham, like I personally, I'm a lifelong Red. I love my club to bits. My personal view is I don't think the situation is that bad, actually, at the moment. I feel like at times, yes, we've questioned Ollie, where he's at, what he's doing. But I also think that Ollie's come up with answers to questions, which I think has earned him time and earned him opportunities. Would I be upset if United finish third this season, got to semi-finals again, didn't win anything, and then the board went, do you know what, Ollie, actually, we're going to make a change now and we're going to bring in a different manager? No, I wouldn't be upset, because that's the board turning around going, actually, third isn't good enough, semi-finals isn't good enough. Right, now let's go and bring in this new man who's going to transform this football club. That's fair enough. That shows a bit of ambition. However, does Ollie deserve right now to be told, right, you no longer should be in this job? The camp's so unhappy, the club's exploding like it was doing under Mourinho. I personally don't think we're there yet, but we will get there under Ollie. I've got a bit more confidence in him in making sure that the club doesn't implode, so to speak. But let me quickly just jump on this with you, Graham, because I want to get your opinion and your expert thoughts on this. So you talk about those two roads that United could potentially be going down, and you think the direction we're going down, obviously, is going to be even more detrimental to the club than potentially the position we're in now. So what needs to change, Graham? What has to change at United? And without just saying Solskjaer, say we've got what we've got now, what does Ollie need to do? What does the club need to do to get to a better position than we're in at the moment?
Yeah, it's an interesting one, as you say, Ben.
I feel like we're in MTV Cribs here. I love it.
Yeah, so I'm just moving to get my battery sorted out. Yeah, so I just think you've shown that throwing money at a situation possibly isn't the way to go, and you've signed all these players and you're doing it. And you say it isn't as simple as just changing Ollie, but it might just be. It might just be. I think and obviously I'm of the belief that I think you're a bit closer in what you think. Again, that's opinion. I only think you're possibly a couple of players away, because if you bring Pochettino in, what do you the change in other players, I think, would be marked. Personally, I think Pochettino is that good. I just think the situation is sort of set up for someone like that. It's not set up for someone to come in and just buy, and that isn't the United way either, as we know. But it looks to be coming that way. It's just you shouldn't have to beg for players as United manager all the time to improve them. And that's just a worry. It's everything, and obviously just changing Ollie. It's not just changing that. You're changing the mindset. You're changing the ambition. You're changing the expectation levels. I said, like, hey, listen, there's not a single United fan who thinks you can even challenge for the league this year, even though we're seeing Liverpool and City stutter at times. If any of us in the league now could pick a team to close the gap, it would probably be Chelsea. And then it's maybe Arsenal, Tottenham. I think at the moment, I think with the improvement we've seen in Arsenal, with the improvement, maybe not so much in Tottenham, like, you're in the thinking, you're almost like back to sixth again. And I just, I think United need to be proactive in terms of this. And I think Ollie's been given a fair crack of the whip. I do, but I just don't see the improvement there. And I say, for me, United, unless you're challenging for the title, it's a bad season. End of story. I don't care what everyone's saying about blah blah. This is Manchester United. You've got one of the most expensively built squads in Europe. You've got some world class talent. If you're not challenging, I'm not saying winning. If you're not challenging, it is not a good season under any circumstance.
I think it's actually quite funny with the title challenge bit, and I just want to rectify my comments. And obviously, I can't speak on behalf of the fan base, like as a fan channel, we don't do that. But guys, get in the comments and get your thoughts in about the about whether we are ready to be title challengers or not, I suppose. And
sounds like I think Man United are bigger than you do, Ben. By sounds of it.
No, my thinking with this is actually agreeing with you on it. You spoke about earlier on in terms of like these great United sides and these great United sides that went and won the league, and these fantastic United sides that we year in year out would challenge for the league. I actually agree with you on that. That's how we all want Manchester United to be when it comes to being a dominant force in English football. But if you're asking me as a Manchester United fan, do you think we could be title challengers with this squad after watching the great squads of the past? I think we can only use that as an experience, and the answer is no. This squad is nowhere near any of our title winning or challenging squads even. And I think you're right as well, though, in what you say. Maybe personnel for personnel, players even might be slightly better in this squad compared to the years when we were challenging for titles. But obviously we had, and we bring it back to the manager, a powerhouse of a manager who got the absolute best out of players. So maybe it does reflect more on where we are at the moment as a club, with the structure internally, whether that's on the pitch or at board level, but also when it comes to the players as well. For me, Maguire and and Bruno Fernandes are leaders within this squad, but I think the United squads of old and in the past, you had like 14, 15 leaders in that squad who could easily put on that armband and go out on that pitch and set an example. We don't have that now, and I think that's where United fans are coming from.
But doesn't that come from the top though, Ben? Are they? Do you think they're coming out of that dressing room, having had that team talk at the start of the match? I think Rashford's coming out buzzing, thinking, yeah, him and Pogba and Maguire. Do you think they're all coming out there and going, yeah, we believe in this game plan, everything he's just said, or do you think, yeah, it's on our shoulders again to do this, no matter what he says?
But then also football's changed a lot, hasn't it, Graeme? Like football, the average footballer has changed quite a lot as well. And the way the game's played has changed a lot. Like when we look back in the past and it would take one flying tackle to spur a team on and to get that grit and get that motivation to get stuck into the opposition. You go and do that now, you're off the pitch and that's it. It
is, but I just think it's so exciting when you got someone like Marcus Rashford, who for me should be United captain. He should be doing for you what Harry Kane does for Tottenham. But
do you think he's that good, Graeme? Do you think he's that good? Let's talk about Rashford. Do you think he's that good?
I do, yeah. He's an absolute, potentially world-class talent. He's got everything. He's got absolutely everything. Has he improved from the day that Solskjaer came in? No, hasn't.
Is he a striker or a winger? What is he? Is he a striker? Is he a winger? Is he what is he?
I think he could be both. What's Kylian? If Kylian Mbappe lines up on the left for PSG, does everyone mourn about that? No,
of course not.
If he lines up in central role, does anyone mourn about that? No. I think he's being pushed out on the left now because that's easy to do. I think he's got every. Why couldn't Rashford play centre forward for Manchester United? I think he should be used there more. I think, and that's a tactic. I don't understand why that isn't used more. Where if you line him up down the middle, and that's the thing. Part of the joys of Ronaldo, Mbappe, Messi is if he goes and stands on the left, right, middle, you don't know where he's going to play, and that's part of the tactics used here. But I think Rashford is just being pigeonholed.
Yeah. Right, and you go back to.
I'm not saying Pochettino would change that, but I think at the very least, you would see improvement there.
Yeah, and you go back to Lukaku and bits and pieces like this. For me, Rashford's best games for United are up top when he's got someone to play off of, and Lukaku nodding the ball onto him, and
I just think that's the exciting thing when I see the way United are set up with your Rashford and how Tottenham used to play with the front three. You've got Kane as a focal point and the two off there. I just think United's current squad is built to play like that, especially if you go and get Sancho, which is up in very much up in the air now, unfortunately for United fans. But yeah, it's and again, I must admit, I'm coming from a Pochettino. I'm a huge fan of Pochettino. I love him. I think he's great. I know Sir Alex Ferguson thinks the same as well of him. He holds him in very high regard, but I don't think he's going to get involved too much in the survey. But yeah, I said it all comes back. It all comes back to it's not about personal preference. I just don't think he's delivering in terms of points, performances. I just don't think it's there, Ben. I really don't. And I think a club like United, a club like Real Madrid and Barcelona wouldn't put up with it. So why should Man United? I just think you're where they are in terms of stat. I just don't think you should get down to those. Arsenal, even where Liverpool were before Brendan Rodgers came in, finishing outside. It's just not where you need to be. You need to be number one in England, and you're not going to get there with him in charge, unfortunately. I think the sooner they realise that, the better. And it's not critical of him. Hey, if he goes and wins a title with you, I will write a full apology to him. But I don't think I'll be needing that ink anytime soon.
I just think with the way we started this season, I understand the Palace performance, the Spurs performance. I get it. We haven't played great in those couple of games. We got a win in the end against Brighton. We've won our 2 Carabao Cup games. We've won 2 really tough Champions League games. We drew against Chelsea. We're still only 6 points off the top spot. I mean, talk about title challenge or not. We're 6 points off with a game in hand. Graeme, has it started this season really been that bad?
Do you think have you watched any of those? Which performance out of the season has made you go wow for United? I tell you which performance did make you go wow was your Tottenham defeat.
But then again, my pushback to you would be these first 10 games, you've just got to get points out of them, haven't you? You've got to still be in the title race. You've still got to be in and about with 10 games. That's what all good football managers have always said.
No, because I've watched Liverpool and City at times over this season, and I just gushed over the football they played and thought, oh wow, and no matter what the result, they played some football and gone, wow, yeah.
Both of them have been smashed though this season already.
Yeah, yes, they have. Yeah, they have. But they also both have world-class managers who will get them performing.
I mean, it's an interesting debate, Graeme, and to be fair to you, like,
I'm of that angle, Ben, where I think you could. I think with the right manager in, I think you could be challenging them a lot.
Let me ask you this question then: Ollie goes tomorrow.
Mm-hmm.
How close are United to the top of the league if we bring in Pochettino?
By the end of this, well, By the end of the season, with the squad you've got, I think you'd be within, and you'd definitely be within 10 points of them both.
Do you reckon what to the top two?
Yeah.
And what about with Ollie now? Do you not expect us to be anywhere near?
I think you'll be lucky to finish top 4.
Wow.
If Arsenal's trajectory, that's on the proviso of the Arsenal trajectory. I don't think Spurs will challenge you. I think Chelsea will be there. It depends on those around, but because let's not forget, like you finished top 4 last year, but what a car crash of like if you hadn't done it, can you imagine how bad you'd have had to have been not to finish top 4, given how bad Arsenal and Tottenham were.
Yeah.
I
Well,
think Leicester again. I think they're getting there, but I think you were very fortunate last year, and it was on the demise of other teams' forms that you finished there, not so much on the back of your own form.
yeah, I mean, I do slightly agree, but then also from the opposite point of view, and being a United fan, also my point at the end of the season was the fact that actually Chelsea and Leicester should have been nowhere near us if we had managed to carry some form throughout those months in October, November, December, which we obviously failed to do with the amount
exactly.
of
But there's a reason again, Ben, that you couldn't carry that form, and again. But the fact
Graham, injuries.
Don't talk in. Well, okay. And you had all your injuries. You also had all the penalties you got given. So it evens itself out.
It wasn't during that phase, though, was it?
Yeah, but injuries are something that every club goes through. You can't claim injuries at all. You know, that's. Look at City now; they're without 2 strikers. That's not injuries hamper everyone. Look at Tottenham without Harry Kane for most of last season. You can't. Any finishing position is not down to injuries. You're as was it Shankly Paisley once said, you're only as good as your reserves, and that's it. If all you've got to hang your hat on is injuries, then come on.
And
that tells you everything you need to know.
Weren't that great, were they, Graham? Come on, let's be honest. Pereira and Lingard and.
But you're how long Solskjaer been in the job for now?
Yeah, but again, I'm hitting on that point last season when we were going through that stage, and our midfield for the majority of it was Matic, Pereira, Lingard, or Fred, McTominay, Pereira, or Lingard. Like we Dan James obviously in there as well. We didn't really have the Brandon Williams being thrown into football like he was. I mean, I'm not saying he's a bad player, but he hadn't played a minute of games until that patch, and I just do feel that that patch has hindered United and helped the other clubs. Yeah, we came back and those clubs went through poor form after the pandemic. But again, I do think that is slightly overlooked. I mean, I completely understand what you're saying about injuries. You can't help them, and your squad should be good enough to deal with them. But United had key players out, and we didn't have that strength in depth. Like now, say Bruno Fernandes was out for 6 weeks. Obviously, I'll be gutted and I'll be nervous going into every single game without him because he's that good. But Van der Beek can deputise for him. He is so much better than our options were last season when we went through the spell that we did.
Yeah, clearly, and that's but you can't be. Your reserves are a key factor. Yes, but that's not really anything to do with Ollie, isn't it? And obviously he's not in charge of the academy and what they bring through, etc. That's not his issue. But it's just that, as I said, the overall concept and
you've not been impressed. You've not been impressed with the last 18 months, basically to this.
Well, how can anyone be? I just don't understand the logic and think of anyone who can be impressed with anything United have done in the last 18 months. I don't. Yeah. If I say for me, I'm going off the judgment and the level that United finishing in the top 4 is not an achievement. I'm judging you on the Real Madrid and Barcelona levels here, Ben. Second is nowhere, and United for me, I said English football needs Manchester United. It doesn't need their owners, and it doesn't need Liverpool's owners. That's a separate subject, but it needs Manchester United Football Club. And it needs to be playing well at the top level. That's why that's why it's so annoying for me. You've got Liverpool up there, and you've got City. How good would it be if you were the third one competing there?
Oh, we should be. We should be. You're not wrong. We should be.
Exactly, but you never will with this man in charge.
Let's see where we're at within the next 10 games. And hopefully, Graham, we can get you back on to discuss further because this has been a great debate. I do want to quickly hit on a couple more things for you because I know that you do a lot of work within transfers. So I just want to talk about a couple of players. Obviously, you said within that quote, you mentioned Pogba, but obviously you did mention other players as well. But I want to hit on Paul Pogba. There was rumours that he was about to sign a new long-term contract. I know we've triggered the extra year, but do you think his future's at United, or do you think as soon as coronavirus is out of the way, it will be down to him flirting with Madrid and he will be going elsewhere?
I see. The thing what you got to remember with Paul Pogba and Madrid is that Zinedine Zidane has never hidden his desire to take him there, and Real Madrid have always had this transfer plan to sign. Last year, the plan was Mbappe, Pogba, and Kante. Zidane wanted his three musketeers in, but Madrid they put it on hold because they do have a separate Mbappe war chest to do that deal. Now Zidane wants Pogba. Now instead Kante wants Camavinga, the young guy, and that is still the plan. And what you got to remember about Pogba is let's not forget how big a legend Zidane is. And when he comes calling and he wants you to play for Real Madrid, and I think that's where some United fans are getting a little bit, I think, a bit harsh on him. And don't get me wrong, he's not playing like he should, and he's taken, he wasn't injured for a lot of last season. He was flouncing around doing what he wanted to do. But again, that's because of the manager you had in charge, and he was allowed to do that and he could do that.
Oh, you can't blame that on Ollie. Come on, Graham. Him flouncing about and him not committing.
Ollie's not a big enough manager to handle world class names like that. And he's proven it with Bruno. Now Ollie is not a big enough name with a big enough respect from these players to handle them, and he's not. And don't get me wrong, it's not an easy job. You have to garner that respect, and they just don't have it for him. They like him as a man, and they like him as a person. They just don't respect him as a coach.
But if Pogba's doing that, surely Pogba's got to take some responsibility as a professional. Like, fair enough, your boss needs to pull you up, like you're saying, but surely at some point Pogba's got to have a look at himself and go, look, I'm getting paid here to do a job. I need to go and do my frigging job, because that's all the fans care about.
Yeah, of course,
I don't care about
I'm not defending Pogba in the way he went. I'm not defending Pogba in any way, shape, or form. But I would say, in terms of these Real stuff, that's why he has had his head turned, and it's nothing to do with his age. It's just Zinedine Zidane, and let's not forget how much in regard these French players hold Zidane in. I think we will underestimate just how big a name he is. So the chance to go and play for Real Madrid and Zidane, and I think if Zidane was at another club as well, it'd probably be the same thing. If he was at Bayern Munich, he'd probably want to go and play for them there. And so let's not underestimate that. In terms of his long-term deal, I think if Solskjaer remains, then Pogba will leave. Yeah, I do. I think there's a chance if a new manager comes in and you can prove that you're title contenders, I think there's a chance of keeping him. But I think that the United's board will probably take Real's money next summer if that's still available. But yeah, it's going to be a big summer next summer, and Real Madrid are ones to look out for. They've been very clever this window. They haven't spent any money. Hazard, they've got to get rid of a few bigger names. They've still got to pay a bit of Hazard off, but they might very well use him in other deals as well. But I think Real will have a big impact here, and Real have a big impact because they want Mbappe. And they think they're going to get him. And all the other clubs in Europe, everyone's in for Mbappe. They're all interested. But Real Madrid are at the front of the queue. And then that ties into Erling Haaland, because he is the second choice for everyone, be it Man City. It might be Real if someone like Liverpool gets an Mbappe. Probably not. But yeah, them two, it's going to be a fascinating summer. And of which United will be involved as well. But yeah, in terms of Pogba, if the current regime stays as is, I think he'll leave. If he's replaced, I think there's a chance of keeping him. But I'd say 70-30 he goes. That's as long as Zidane stays in Real, which we think is their ambition to keep him long term, which would be very interesting as well. But if Zidane is still there, then yeah, I think it's about 70-30, I would say.
It's good to get that insight, and I think you're completely spot on about idolising the man Zidane. And let's also not forget, actually, no one gives him credit for what a great managerial career he's had to this point as well.
Yes, and I think it's what he's like. And Real, it's interesting talking to Sir Alex. Real are quite now. They realise what a laughing stock they were, kept on changing, and what's kicked in with them is they can see it at Barcelona now. What a laughing stock Barcelona are becoming. The fact they're allowing Lionel Messi to run the club, etc., is just ridiculous.
Yeah.
And now Florentino Perez in love with Zidane. He's thinking, you know what happens if Zidane can do with Sir Alex? Yeah. And that is the thinking there now. You can imagine Real as big as they are, but then you have someone like Zidane who is a once in a lifetime thing, being a world class manager to being a world class coach. Madrid, the prospect is there for Madrid to go and dominate Europe for the next 10 years. If they go with Zidane's plans, which include like Camavinga, Pogba, and Mbappe, have Varane at centre half, wow, that is spectacular, possibly. And if
That's a
Zidane is
fire and
there
a half,
to
yeah.
oversee that, it's frightening, isn't it? It really is a frightening thought. So, because and Zidane, they've got the youth players as well. So it's an interesting one. I think Real are going to have a massive say in this. And obviously that will include Mr. Pogba.
And what about Jadon Sancho then? Because as we all know, Sancho grew up watching Norwegian forwards, so he idolises Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. And as
Yeah.
long as Ole Gunnar Solskjaer is at the club, he's going to want to join us, as you full well know there, Graeme. What are you expecting? Because surely the Mbappe key, for those players who are in for him, and if he potentially goes to Real Madrid, again, a backup option of a similar player is going to be a Jadon Sancho. So he could be, again, someone who's in hot property next summer.
Yeah. I'm still flabbergasted United didn't do it. They've been working on the deal for so long, over 2 years. Terms were agreed. There was even advertising campaigns done. He had the 7 shirt, wasn't it? Sorted out. And I think the player was gutted. It got to within some, if we led to what some sources believe, as close as 10 million. It got as close as that. It's a strange one for me because I know they'd budgeted at the start of the summer for Bellingham, Grealish, and for Sancho. Things change. Everything does. Corona has a massive impact. Some people don't think we'll have fans back in this year, and that does have an impact, no matter who you are. But I just think United will live to regret this. I think they will. I think this was their one. I'm not saying their only chance, but this was their big chance. They had no one else competing. It was a perfect storm for them to sign Sancho. It really was, and I just think that it's going to be very hard to get him now because the player is not. He's not dismissing United out of hand now, but he's making it known now where it's all being reset. The field is level. Whoever comes in now, United have no advantage anymore in this. And let's not forget the fact Sancho wanted to come. There was no. He decided to come. He wanted that number 7 shirt. He wanted to lead United with Rashford into this new dawn, and Rashford, yeah. I just can't for the life of me. I know I'm speaking, I'm singing, preaching to the choir here. I just can't for the life of me understand why they didn't do it, push it. I'm not one of these conspiracy theorists that Summit United's board didn't want to bring him in and give him to Ollie. I'm not on that side. I don't think they would do that. I'd be so callous to do that. But yeah, who knows? We'll find out one day, won't we? Why it didn't happen. But
I hope so. It's a very strange one to live as a fan, I've got to say, because it all seemed like it was going to happen. It was meant to be. Everything aligned, and then it didn't align, which was the weirdest thing.
Yeah, it was there to be done. Everything for the sake of 10, even if they were 25. For me, even if they were 25 million apart, just pay it. You hadn't paid much money in terms of other players. You lost out on Bellingham. You didn't progress with Grealish, so there was money to spare anyway. Obviously they didn't want to spend that much on one player, but why not?
Graeme, this has been superb. I've really enjoyed chatting with you. I hope you've enjoyed it as well.
No,
it was nice to have a little debate and a little throw towards, and be able to all actually be able to say something. And to be fair to you, you've come on, you've stuck to your opinion, you've said it clearly, you've explained why, and that is absolutely fair enough, and that deserves a lot of respect, I think, because you know full well what United fans are like, and potentially what they could be like in the comments. But I hope, all I'll say to people is, I hope you've watched this the whole way through. Because if you've watched it the whole way through, then you'll completely get Graeme's point. And myself as a fan, you'll see that this video isn't calling from us as fans for Ollie to be out, which I know will be what some people say. But Graeme's on here giving an opinion on why he doesn't think United are progressing with Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, in his opinion, and also why he thinks that United potentially would be silly not to move on Pochettino, but potentially won't win a trophy with Ole Gunnar Solskjaer in charge, or the title in charge.
Yeah, I think I'm not. Hey, you could get any with that squad. I said that squad's capable of going a long way in the Champions League. It's capable of winning some. It's an exceptional squad. I said I probably think the squad is slightly better than quite a lot of United fans. But yeah, I just I said I like to have the big clubs doing well. It sounds strange coming from a Middlesbrough fan, whatever, but hey, I'm ignoring Operation Big Picture and what they're trying to, the fact they're trying to kill the English game on the side. Let's forget about that for the time being. English football needs Manchester United to be where they should be, and I just think they need to turn the ship around because the current destination is not where they need to be.
Graeme, really appreciate you coming on. Thank you, mate. Do you want to quickly just shout out your Twitter link and where people can go and check you out on more content?
Yeah, you can get me at Graeme Bailey, Graeme. Yes, I was named after Graeme Souness, which will please all United fans.
Oh, lovely.
He was the Middlesbrough star player when I was born, hence why my name is spelled like it is. So it's Graeme Bailey. So yeah, shout me up on there. Don't swear and abuse too much. But hey, I'll try and reply to as many as I can.
Respect to you, Graeme. Hopefully, we'll get you back on again a bit later on in the season to have a little unbiased review of how we're getting on and how you think we're getting on. That would be a good shout, I think.
Yeah, not a problem. Yeah, when you can get on the Pochettino appointment show, you can get me on for that.
Graeme, thank you so much for coming on. Guys, make sure you subscribe to All for United. Hit a like on this video. Your likes mean a lot to us. Even if you don't agree with something I've said or something Graeme doesn't say, hit like anyway and then get your thoughts in the comment and debate. Don't shy behind a dislike. Don't shy behind going, oh, I don't agree with that. Actually, get in the comments and have your say. That's what we're all about. And next week, Jamie Jackson is going to be on All for United talking more about Ole Gunnar Solskjaer as he has a new book out on our manager. So for now, thank you for watching Ben Talks 2. Subscribe to the channel and have a great weekend. Bye for now.